Have you ever noticed how, in a world that never seems to stop talking, the quietest person in the room often commands the most attention? It's a paradox that's as old as time itself. True power doesn't always announce itself with a shout. Instead, it often moves in silence, shaping events from the shadows. Think about the great strategists of history, like Sun Tzu and Machiavelli. They understood that real control isn't about dominating the conversation or making grand declarations. It's about restraint, about knowing when to hold back, and letting your presence be felt without a single word. Silence, so often mistaken for weakness or absence, is actually a profound source of strength. In a world overflowing with noise, information, and constant demands for our attention, silence stands out. It becomes a rare oasis, a space where reflection and strategy can truly flourish. When you choose silence, you're not just stepping back. You're stepping into a position of power, one that allows you to observe, to plan, and to act with intention. And as we explore this idea further, you'll see that silence is not just the absence of sound, but the very foundation of a deeper, more lasting influence. So let's dive into the science behind silence and discover why it's so much more than just an empty space. Let's pause for a moment and really question what we think we know about silence. Most of us have been taught to see silence as a void, an empty space that needs to be filled. But what if that's not true at all? In today's world, where every moment is saturated with notifications, opinions, and endless chatter, silence has become something rare, almost precious. It's not just the absence of noise, it's a resource, a tool, and, for those who understand its value, a source of real power. Silence isn't passive. It's not about doing nothing or fading into the background. In fact, choosing silence is one of the most active decisions you can make. Imagine a lion in the savannah. It doesn't announce its presence or waste energy on unnecessary movement. Instead, it waits, it watches, and it chooses the perfect moment to act. That's the science of silence, using restraint as a strategy, not as a retreat. When we speak too soon or too often, we risk giving away our intentions, our ideas, even our vulnerabilities. Words once released can't be taken back, and sometimes they travel further than we ever intended. But when we hold back, when we let silence do the talking, we protect what matters most. Our ideas have time to mature, our plans remain our own, and our presence becomes more intriguing, more powerful. So as we move forward, let's look at how silence isn't just about holding your tongue. It's about using that space to build strength, to observe, and to prepare for the moments that truly matter. And that brings us to the next layer of this art, the strength that comes from emotional restraint and strategic calm. Silence isn't just about holding back words. It's about mastering your own emotions, especially when the world around you is in chaos. Think about those moments when everything seems to be spinning out of control, when people are arguing, or when you feel provoked. The natural urge is to react, to defend yourself, to fill the space with words. But what if instead you chose silence? This kind of silence is a shield. It's the ability to remain calm in the eye of the storm, to resist the pull of impulsive reactions. When you don't let anger or frustration dictate your response, you gain a powerful advantage. You become the person who can see clearly, who can think strategically, even when everyone else is swept up in emotion. That's not weakness, it's true strength. And here's something practical you can try. Set aside a few minutes each day just for silence. No phone, no music, no distractions. Let your mind settle. You'll be surprised at how much clarity you gain, how your decisions become more thoughtful, and how your stress begins to melt away. Silence in this sense is like a reset button for your mind. As you practice this, you'll notice something else happening. The more you embrace silence, the more you start to observe. Not just yourself, but the world around you. And that's where the real power of observation begins to unfold, taking us to the next step in mastering the art of control. When you invite silence into your life, you create a space that's perfect for observation. It's in these quiet moments that you begin to notice things you might have missed before. The subtle shifts in someone's tone, the fleeting expressions on their face, the energy in a room. Silence sharpens your senses. turning you from a passive participant into an active observer. Imagine yourself as a detective arriving at a crime scene. The detective doesn't rush in or get swept up by the noise and confusion. Instead, they pause, they look, they listen. Every detail matters. The position of a chair, a footprint by the door, a strand of hair on the floor. It's this patient, attentive observation that reveals the truth hidden beneath the surface. In life, the same principle applies. When you slow down and really pay attention, you start to see the patterns, the connections, the motivations that drive people's actions. Observation is more than just seeing, it's perceiving. It's about reading between the lines, understanding what's not being said, and picking up on the signals that others might overlook. This skill gives you a deeper understanding of people and situations, allowing you to anticipate moves, recognize opportunities, and avoid pitfalls. It's the key to reading intentions and motivations, to seeing the world as it truly is, not just as it appears. And as you develop this power of observation, you'll find that knowledge itself becomes a form of influence. The more you see, the more you understand, and the more prepared you are to act with wisdom. This brings us naturally to the next layer: how observation, when combined with silence, becomes a tool of real power and influence. As you begin to see the world with new eyes, you'll notice that observation isn't just about gathering information, it's about gaining power. The knowledge you collect through attentive observation becomes your secret advantage. It's like having a map when everyone else is wandering in the dark. You start to notice patterns in people's behavior, the subtle cues that reveal their true intentions, and the underlying dynamics of every situation. This awareness allows you to move with confidence, to anticipate challenges, and to seize opportunities before anyone else even realizes they exist. But observation isn't just about looking outward. It's equally important to turn that lens inward. Mindfulness and self-reflection are essential parts of this journey. When you observe your own thoughts, emotions, and reactions, you begin to understand what drives you, your strengths, your weaknesses, your triggers. This self-knowledge is the foundation of true influence, because you can't master the world around you until you've learned to master yourself. If you want to cultivate this skill, try a simple exercise. The next time you're in a conversation, practice mindful listening. Focus completely on the other person. Notice their words, their tone, their body language. Resist the urge to plan your response. Just observe. Or at the end of each day, spend a few minutes in self-inquiry. Ask yourself, what did I notice today? How did I react? What can I learn from this? Over time, these small practices will sharpen your perception and deepen your understanding. And as your powers of observation grow, you'll find yourself naturally stepping into a position of influence. You'll be able to guide situations, not by force, but by insight. This is where silence and observation come together, forming the subtle mechanisms of control that shape the world around us. Let's explore how these elements work in harmony to create real, lasting influence. When you bring silence and observation together, you create the foundation for something even more powerful: control. This isn't about domination or force, it's about guiding outcomes with subtlety and intention. Think about how silence can be used in persuasion or negotiation. When you don't rush to fill every pause, you create a sense of mystery, a space where others begin to wonder what you're thinking, what you might do next. That silence becomes a tool, shaping the conversation without a single word. In these moments, you're not just holding back, you're actively influencing the dynamic. People are naturally drawn to what they don't fully understand. Your silence invites curiosity, and your careful observation allows you to respond with precision. This is the art of invisible manipulation. Now, I know that word, manipulation, can sound negative, but it's really just the ability to influence outcomes without making your presence obvious. Like a magician who distracts the audience with one hand while performing the real trick with the other, or a gardener who quietly tends to the roots, shaping the growth of the entire garden without anyone noticing. When used ethically, this skill can be a force for good. It's about knowing when to act and when to wait, when to speak and when to let silence do the work. You become the conductor of the unseen, guiding events from behind the scenes. And as you master these subtle mechanisms, you'll discover another layer of strategy, the power that comes from creating space, from embracing emptiness as a source of influence. Let's explore how the strategy of emptiness can elevate your control to an even higher level. It might sound counterintuitive, but sometimes your absence can have a greater impact than your presence ever could. Think about those moments when someone's sudden silence or withdrawal from a situation leaves everyone else wondering, speculating, even missing them. That vacuum you create draws attention, stirs curiosity, and often gives you more influence than if you were right in the middle of things. This is the strategy of emptiness, using non-action as a deliberate choice. It's about knowing when to step back, when to let things unfold without your direct involvement. By distancing yourself from trivialities, from the constant need to be seen or heard, you conserve your energy for what truly matters. You become more selective about where you invest your time and attention, and in doing so, you increase the value of your presence when you do choose to engage. Practically, you can start applying this by creating intentional spaces of silence in your conversations. Don't rush to fill every pause. Let others reflect. Let the silence do some of the talking for you. And in your daily life, try withdrawing from situations or discussions that don't align with your goals or values. Notice how your absence can sometimes speak louder than your words. As you embrace this strategy, you'll find that emptiness isn't a lack. It's an opportunity. It's a way to cultivate mystery, to invite others to come to you, and to maintain control without ever appearing to force it. And as we bring all these ideas together, we arrive at the true mastery of control, where silence, observation, and emptiness work in harmony to shape your life and your destiny. Let's explore how to integrate these elements into a powerful, unified approach. As we look back on this journey, it becomes clear that true mastery isn't found in any single technique, but in the integration of silence, observation, and emptiness. Each one is powerful on its own, but together they form a foundation for a deeper, more lasting kind of control. One that doesn't rely on force or constant action, but on wisdom and self-awareness. When you learn to be silent, you create space for observation. When you observe, you gain insight. And when you embrace emptiness, you allow yourself to act only when it truly matters, making every move count. But to truly master these arts, you have to start with yourself. Self-awareness is the cornerstone. Take time to reflect on your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors. Ask yourself why you react the way you do, what triggers you, and how you can respond with more intention. Conscious breathing is another powerful tool. Whenever you feel overwhelmed or pressured, pause and take a few deep breaths. This simple act can bring you back to center, helping you regain control over your emotions and your actions. And perhaps most importantly, practice self-forgiveness. We all make mistakes. We all lose control sometimes. What matters is that you learn from those moments and move forward with greater wisdom and compassion. As Lao Tzu said, "He who conquers others is strong. He who conquers himself is mighty." Mastery of control is a lifelong journey, a continuous process of learning, growing, and refining your ability to live with intention. As we reach the end of this journey, remember that the true art of living lies in mastering silence, observation, and emptiness. These aren't just strategies for influence. They're lifelong practices that can transform the way you see yourself and the world. Embrace them, and you'll find a deeper sense of clarity, strength, and purpose in everything you do. Stay curious, keep exploring these themes, and let the quiet power you cultivate guide you to new heights. The journey doesn't end here. It's only just beginning.